This story begins in the middle of the Vietnam War in 1968. A platoon of soldiers moves silently through the damp jungle under relentless rain and thunder. Hidden beneath the thick canopy, the men proceed cautiously, alert to every strange sound. The air is heavy with tension, the radios barely work through the noise, and the soldiers' faces reveal exhaustion and fear. Suddenly, a scream pierces the night. One of the men vanishes into the darkness, swallowed by the trees. Panic erupts. They raise their weapons and fire blindly, trying to defend themselves from something they can't even see. Moments later, a strange figure bursts out of the jungle and attacks with terrifying speed. The strike is so sudden that no one has time to react. Within seconds, one soldier lies dead, killed by a creature that shouldn't exist. Hours later, in another part of the country, helicopters thunder across the sky, carrying troops toward a small village. When they land, chaos awaits. The villagers are fleeing in terror, and among them, a trembling woman manages to speak. She says a feathered demon took her husband. Her words sound insane, but the sheer fear in her eyes makes even the toughest soldiers shiver. That same day, at a military base in Saigon, Colonel Jericho summons a special unit for a secret mission. Standing before him is the Vulture Squad, a reconnaissance team made of hardened men, veterans of countless suicidal missions. Jericho explains that a platoon of Green Berets has vanished in a remote valley, and their task is to find them and report what happened. He offers few details, only warning that the area is off limits, not a normal combat zone. Baker listens quietly, but distrusts his commander's half-truths. Leon, more naive, asks what they're up against. Jericho's cold response is simple: something ruthless. That night, helicopters drop Vulture Squad deep in the heart of the jungle. The pilot warns them that the compass isn't working. Magnetic interference. Still, they jump into the muddy terrain and press forward. Soon, they discover disturbing signs. Massive claw marks on trees and huge three-toed footprints in the mud. Evidence of something enormous. They even find a gigantic feather. Wade, the squad's medic, confirms it doesn't belong to any known animal. The jungle is unnervingly silent. As they move deeper, they feel the presence of unseen eyes watching them. Suddenly, one of the soldiers is dragged away by a shadow moving at inhuman speed. The others open fire, but whatever it is vanishes just as quickly as it appeared. Meanwhile, in another part of the valley, a group of Soviet soldiers known as the Dogs of War are also patrolling the area. Moving through the brush, one of them, Alexander Heath, steps a few paces away from the other. A roar tears through the air, and in an instant, the creature attacks, biting off his head in one brutal motion. The body collapses in the dirt, torn apart. His comrades find what's left and assume the Americans are to blame, so they decide to hunt them down. Back in the jungle, the Vulture Squad reaches a cave. Inside, they find the mutilated remains of several soldiers, likely the missing team. The smell and dried blood confirms something horrific happened there. Before they can react, enormous feathered beasts lunge from the shadow. The men unleash their weapons, firing non-stop to push them back. They manage to escape, but the truth becomes undeniable. These creatures are dinosaurs, but yet predators thought to be extinct. Moving carefully, they continue on until a thunderous roar freezes them in place. A gigantic dinosaur crashes through the trees ahead, destroying everything in its path. During the chaos, Baker and Leon are separated from the others. Lost and cut off from communication, they struggle to survive on their own. The deeper they go, the more dangerous the jungle becomes. Suddenly, they stumble upon a massive dinosaur sleeping amid the bones of its prey. Before they can move, a few small hatchlings begin to squeal. The sound wakes the enormous beast, which roars furiously upon seeing the intruders near its young. Desperate chase begins. Baker and Leon fire their weapons, but the bullets barely slow the monster down. They sprint through the trees, trying to escape. The creature doesn't relent. Finally, they reach a cliff with a river far below. With no other choice, they jump. The dinosaur dives right after them, and the impact shakes the valley. Dragged by the current, they eventually reach the shore. Leon is unconscious, barely breathing. That's when a mysterious woman appears. She introduces herself as Sophia. She helps Baker pull Leon from the water and revives him with quick, skilled movements. Baker realizes she's not just another villager. She's a scientist hiding in this deadly place. Meanwhile, the rest of the Vulture Squad moves forward in another direction. They find strange signs: scattered shell casings, human footprints mixed with enormous claw marks. With every step, the tension thickens. Then, a deafening roar tears through the jungle, confirming their worst fears. They're not alone out here, and whatever's hunting them isn't human. Sophia leads Baker and Leon to an abandoned structure that turns out to be an old research facility. Behind its reinforced concrete walls and rusted equipment, she assures them they'll be safe, at least for a while. Leon manages to reach base command through the radio, while Baker questions Sophia, demanding to know what's really going on. Visibly shaken, she confesses that everything traces back to a Soviet experiment led by a general named Borodin. She explains that it involved a particle collider, a secret project that went horribly wrong, opening a portal to the past and allowing dinosaurs to cross into this world. Sophia reveals that Borodin murdered all of her her colleagues when they tried to stop the experiment, and that she's been surviving alone among the ruins ever since. As she speaks, Sophia injects herself with a substance to calm her nerve, which makes Baker suspicious. He begins to think she might be hallucinating, but there's no time to question her further. Outside, the roars of the creatures echo closer and closer. Elsewhere, the dogs of war continue tracking the Americans. Each step draws them nearer to the same destination, a valley turned into a prehistoric hunting ground where one mistake means death. The Vulture Squad, split and exhausted, braces for the worst. Baker now realizes their mission is no longer just about rescuing missing soldiers. It's about uncovering a catastrophe that changed the fate of the entire world. At dawn, an eerie silence fills the jungle. The remaining members of the squad move cautiously, listening for any sound. They're worn out, but they know stopping too long could get killed. The real threat is no longer enemy soldiers, but it's the giant predators that now rule the valley. Suddenly, the team crosses paths with the dogs of war. At first, both sides mistake each other for enemies, and a chaotic firefight erupts in the dense jungle. Bullets tear through the foliage, tension mounting as neither side backs down, until a monstrous roar shakes trees. Everyone freezes. Out of the undergrowth burst a pack of Utah raptors, massive, lightning-fast predators that attack indiscriminately. Americans and Soviets are forced to join forces, fighting side by side just to survive. Beasts leap upon them, slashing with razor-sharp claws and teeth, bringing down men from both groups. Gerald, the sniper, is knocked to the ground, but manages to stab one with his bayonet before being badly wounded in the leg. Barely alive, the survivors retreat to Sophia's facility, carrying Gerald with them. The structure, though seemingly safe, quickly becomes a trap. Sophia warns them that if the collider restarts, the portals could expand, allowing the dinosaurs to reach other parts of the world. A heavy silence falls as everyone grasps the magnitude of what she's saying, but that brief calm is shattered moments later. A thunderous crash rattles the wall. The creatures have found them. The group barricades themselves inside, firing through windows and doorways as claws and jaws smash through the openings. The noise is overwhelming. The soldiers fight back with everything they have, but then a gigantic monster crashes through the main entrance, tearing it apart. Panic takes over. Gerald, bleeding and knowing he can't escape, orders the others to fall back. With one final calm grin, he triggers the explosive strapped to his chest. A massive explosion rocks the entire facility, bringing it down and taking the beasts inside with it. The survivors, now drenched in sweat and blood, make it out of the ruins and flee into the jungle. No one says a word. They all understand they've just lost one of their own. Hours later, the group reaches a river and builds a makeshift raft across, but the water offers no rest. From the depths, a massive aquatic predator, something like a gigantic crocodile, Tasib, bursts upward, slamming into the raft, throwing several men into the current. They fire desperately, emptying their rifles until the beast finally retreats, but the encounter leaves them even more drained and broken. Night falls on the opposite shore. Surrounded by the corpses of fallen soldiers from long ago, they are too exhausted to rest. Suddenly, a swarm of flying creatures descends from the sky. Their wings beat violently, and the men barely manage to take cover as the monsters dive and tear through them. Several are killed within seconds. The battle rages until dawn. When it's over, only a few remain alive. Among them is Logan, who, in a moment of hopelessness, takes his own life rather than be devoured. The others can only watch in horror as the predators rip his body apart, then use the distraction to escape once more. Meanwhile, Baker and Leon remain with Sophia. He's still wary of her, but knows he has no choice but to trust her. She insists they must reach the Soviet base where the collider is located. Baker hesitates, but he knows she's right, and there's no other way. Their journey is long and perilous. Along the way, they're ambushed by packs of Deinonychus leap from the trees and even confronted by a furious Tyrannosaurus defending its young. Each encounter leaves them more scarred, inside and out. At last, they spot the silhouette of the base through the jungle. Rusted towers, concrete walls, and flickering red lights that pulse like a warning. From a distance, they hear both roars and shouted orders in Russian. The enemy now isn't just the dinosaurs, it's the humans trying to exploit the chaos for their own gain. Inside the compound, General Borden oversees the final preparations. Consumed by obsession, he speaks of the dinosaurs as tools to restart the world and change the course of war. His soldiers exchange uneasy glances. They all know he's gone too far. Baker, Sophia, and the remaining survivors infiltrate the base, avoiding guards and planting explosives at critical points. The plan is simple: destroy the collider and end the threat once and for all. Nothing about this place is simple. Bone-shaking roar echoes through the corridors. The soldiers freeze as two massive dinosaurs burst inside. a furious pair avenging their dead offspring. Chaos explodes. Beasts and men clash amid red lights and blaring siren. Borodin refuses to stop, ranting that he's on the brink of a new era. The hallways erupt in fire and blood. One dinosaur crushes a line of Russian troops, while another smashes through electrical panels with its massive tail. The metallic hum of the collider powering up signals that the catastrophe is spiraling out of control. In the chaos, Baker gives the order: detonate the charges and pull out. But before they can, Colonel Jericho arrives in a helicopter with reinforcements, demanding they secure the collider for the United States instead of destroying it. Furious, Baker refuses. He knows leaving it intact would doom the entire world. Borodin, gravely wounded but still alive, tries to manipulate Sophia by reminding her of her late husband. Through tears, she rejects him and overrides the emergency system, partially halting the collider's activation, even though she knows it might be too late. The survivors search for an escape amid the flames. In his final act, Borodin attempts to restart the collider, but before he can, a dinosaur bursts through the smoke and tears him apart instantly. His death doesn't stop the chaos. The corridors are now swarming with beasts, their glowing eyes cutting through the haze of fire and alarms. The Vulture Squad fights its way through gunfire, explosions, and roar. Men fall one by one, devoured or buried under rubble. Baker pushes forward, leading the others toward a secondary exit marked by Sophia. They finally emerge into the storm. Torrential rain pounds the ground as the burning base collapses behind. Dinosaurs spill out into the jungle, spreading the destruction. Jericho watches from his helicopter, shouting accusations at Baker, furious that his mission has failed. But it's over. The damage is done. The remaining soldiers barely make it aboard the last helicopter. Wounded, drenched, and hollow-eyed, they realize the war has changed forever. What began as a simple rescue mission has become the birth of a new terror, one humanity may never be able to stop.